E3 happened. Let's talk about it. So yeah, I've never really done an E3 impressions video on my channel. I don't think I've ever done. I never really talk about E3 on this channel. I think it'd be cool if you guys heard my thoughts because I did in fact watch the entirety of E3. Well, kind of. There were some things I missed out on, but for the most part, I know what happened. So right from the start, I just want to address the fact that I do not consider myself a fanboy of any certain console. I try to judge them all equally, and with E3, I like to be as fair as I can with each conference, judging them on what I feel needs to be judged, such as exclusives, entertainment, appeal, all that. I own pretty much all of the Nintendo consoles. I own all 3 Xboxes. I own some PlayStation consoles. Did I purchase my Xbox One? Absolutely not. I got it as a gift, because none of the next-gen consoles appeal to me. Like, at all back then. If I didn't get my Xbox One as a gift, I definitely wouldn't have it right now. It wasn't my choice, so I don't call myself an Xbox or a Nintendo fanboy or anything. It just happened to be in my possession. The Wii U I definitely went out and bought. Because being a Sonic fan, I had to try out Lost World, and Smash Brothers, and Xenoblade Chronicles X. Just getting that out the way right now. So going into E3, like before it even started or whatever, I had like a predictions list. I'm only talking about the big 3 in this video, by the way. And I had like a small prediction chart in my head. I had Sony at number 3, mainly because they are leading in sales. I did not expect crazy announcements this year at all, because they're so ahead of the other 2 consoles. I just expected stuff we've seen before. So I had Sony at number 3. Number 2, I chose Nintendo. We already knew some titles that were coming, like Star Fox, and maybe recurring titles. They do that a lot. Smash Brothers. I thought it was going to be a safe and good year for them, with maybe 1 or 2 huge surprises. I thought they won last year's E3, and I just didn't expect them to win again, but I didn't expect them to get last either, so I put Nintendo at number 2. And at number 1, I predicted Microsoft of all companies. Basically because Xbox is second in sales, their hate is kind of dying down. You know, more people are starting to accept the Xbox One as a console and not just some corporate thing that's cool to hate. It's kind of dying down. So the best way to help your brand is to go all out. I thought Microsoft would do that this year, so I had them at number 1. And that segues into the first conference. I understand that there was a conference Sunday, but again, we're only talking about the big 3. And to my satisfaction, I believe Microsoft did pretty well. I think they did pretty solid. The main thing Microsoft, I feel, had to do was to make the Xbox One appealing. In an age where the PlayStation 4 is running circles around the other 2 consoles, you gotta get more people to want this thing. Whether it's more exclusives, better features, fan demand, whatever it takes, really. And I'm so glad that they took advantage of this. From the start, they opened up with Halo. You know, it's Halo. We've come to expect what it should look like nowadays. I think it looks pretty good. I think the stage they chose was kind of like, no. I think they should have chose more of a cinematic type environment or something, like a better scenery, because it was just dark and dull, and I don't think it was a great way to open up the conference. But for Halo fans, you got Halo 5, so there it is. Then after that, we get a preview of one of my most anticipated games, and that is ReCore. ReCore is a prime example of a trailer I think done right. There's no gameplay, sadly, and you're going to notice that's the thing with this conference, is that they don't really show gameplay. That is I feel like Microsoft would have got a lot more respect had they did that, but we'll get more into that later. But yeah, ReCore is actually pretty interesting. It's being worked on by KJ Inafune. That's pretty awesome. And just the tone of it looks pretty interesting. If we got gameplay of that would have been such a good bounce from Halo, you know? You got Master Chief, then you got the female protagonist, and this lone world. That would have been so good. Then a huge announcement. Easily the main thing people are going to remember from this conference, and that is the announcement of backwards compatibility. The Xbox One will now support a selection of Xbox 360 games. That is easily one of the biggest things they could have done for this conference, and it helped them out a lot. Had they not announced this conference would have just been okay to me. But it definitely added points, because that's huge. That's a huge blow to Sony, because Sony does not have that, and they still don't. So Microsoft is sticking to that mindset that we have to sell these consoles, and that is a great way to do it, because people are talking about it. After the conference, people are like, wow, I can finally get an Xbox One now, so I can finally go back to my 360 games and play them on my Xbox One without having to plug in my 360. It works out. It's a cool announcement. Something that should have been there from the beginning, but it's a welcome addition. I don't know why anyone would call that a negative. Like, it's one of the biggest things they could have done. They did it, so good job. As we're going along with the conference, you're starting to notice, like, a lot of exclusives. That's one thing Microsoft excelled on, was exclusives. And if there's one thing that sells consoles, it's exclusives. So I'm glad that they're doing that. A number of things we knew about, like Halo, obviously, Forza, Fable Legends for some reason, Rise of Tomb Raider, one I'm actually really looking forward to, probably my most anticipated for this year, and a number of indie work. As much as I love this conference, I will admit I did like this conference a lot. The one thing that just hurt this conference the most was the lack of gameplay. Like, there were so many games that could have used gameplay trailers. Dark Souls 3, for example. We know what it looks like, but show it. Like, show us gameplay. I don't understand why they didn't do that. Record definitely should have had gameplay. That would have been brilliant. And just a few other games, you know? It wasn't every game, like, definitely some had gameplay. Like the new Rare game. Let's talk about Rare for a second. Rare celebrates its 30th anniversary, and you get this awesome collection with 30 Rare games for $30. That's pretty awesome. Like, I love collections like that. Me being a Sonic fan, Sonic's Ultimate Genesis Collection and Sonic Mega Collection are just amazing because they give you so much for such a small price. So you can't really argue with that. The biggest disappointment for me, and probably a lot of people, is I really expected Banjo for Xbox. I just did. I just figured, 30th anniversary, I thought Banjo was going to be that game, and it just wasn't. You can't blame them. I mean, Rare handled it pretty darn well, and they even showed off a new IP. We don't know much about it. It was kind of just walking around. It's like a pirate game. It looked just like Assassin's Creed 4, only like cartoonish. So I hope that turns out alright. I really hope it does, because if Rare has a nice looking new IP, that's good news. That's really good news, because everyone has lost faith in Rare, so that will change everything. I guess a few others, Fallout 4 is definitely a plus. I'm glad they showed that off. It's going to be on PS4 too, but still, it's freaking Fallout. A game called Cuphead, which is actually, I guess, one of the best games they showed off. It really looked cool. I love this game's art style. It's 30s, it looks very like old Disney. Freaking amazing, man. Like, the fact that an indie developer, like, just came up with this idea, it's perfect. And such a good win for Xbox. Like, this isn't gonna be on PS4, so it's another reason to get Xbox One. It's on PC as well, so, that rules that out, but if you're just a console person, then you're going to have to buy an Xbox, I believe. They also showed off a Minecraft VR section, which everyone freaked out over. I found it pretty interesting. I'm never going to be able to afford it, so it doesn't really affect me. It doesn't really affect a lot of people, but it's cool to see. It's cool to see that we're in the future. That's pretty awesome to look at. And it admittedly made me freak out as well. I'm like, I've never seen anything like that, so it's pretty cool. Another big one for Xbox is the console features. When it comes to just the console itself and like adding features to it, I believe Xbox has like dominated this conference. Like, they're the only ones that really talked about the console itself for the most part. You got free early access trials, the Steam VR partnership, the new customizable controller, the mods. It's like, that's pretty awesome. It's pretty awesome to see them care about that. And again, Microsoft's mindset with this was the console itself. Bring familiar IPs, bring new IPs, expand on what the console could do to make it appealing to a lot of people, and I think they did that for the most part. I think the only people that hated this conference were the people caught up in like Sony hype or whatever. Because E3 does that. When you see a conference, you want to say, this conference murdered this conference, or something ridiculous, No, I think Microsoft did pretty dang solid. Whether the games appeal to you or not, Microsoft definitely brought exclusive features to the table, and I think that's what E3 should do, so not bad. I think their main problem was a bit of pacing issues towards the beginning. EA probably shouldn't have been there, and there definitely should have been more gameplay. That was like the huge miss right there. But yeah, nice diversity with art styles. It wasn't just all gray shooters this time around. And yeah, good luck Microsoft. That was pretty good. I expected better, but they definitely delivered. As far as Sony was like, alright, since they go second, you expect them to take everything Microsoft did and make it better. Like, they have that advantage. They can do what they want. For what I know, anyway. I don't know what goes on behind the scenes. But, as I said, I didn't predict Sony to be, like, the top conference of the entire E3. Anything like that. I didn't even expect it to be that amazing. Turns out they open up with a long-requested IP known as The Last Guardian. Apparently, this game has been in planning/development since PS3, I believe. Really sought-after game. I mean, That's pretty huge to open a conference up like that, and it showed gameplay, so huge win for Sony. That is undoubtedly a better opening than Microsoft. The game itself, I don't know to think of it. It looks beautiful, the graphics look amazing. It's like one of those like hipster games. I don't know, it's weird. I don't see myself actually spending hours in the game. It just looks like one of those super immersion / story driven game. That's the feeling I get. It looks very puzzle based. I'm not sure if I'm very fond of that specific genre, but the art style was amazing. I love games that just have great art styles, and the next game was definitely for me because I believe this is my favorite game of all E3. Like, it's my favorite completely. And that is a game known as Horizon. Oh my god, like, at first glance, I didn't know what to make of it because I was kind of multitasking. I was looking at something else while watching the stream. But going back to it, oh my god, like, it's so... There's no other game that really has that feel. Like, it takes modern day, like, tropes and ideas and puts it in this colorful world. Like, this trippy looking... I don't know what to call it, but it's so cool. It's so pleasing to look at. Like, this game just looks so amazing. And I don't have a PS4. I only own an Xbox One and a Wii U currently. But good god, man, that right there is actually... That's gonna make me want a PS4. I'm not even, like, trying to deny it. Like, I'm being as clear as I can. That game was freaking amazing. That is one of the best E3 showings I've seen probably ever. Like, I've never been so hyped for a PlayStation game in my life, like, ever. So that was just incredible, and it had gameplay. Then you have games like Hitman, which is going to be on Xbox One, but it's cool to look at, I guess. And Street Fighter V, which I honestly can't believe at all that this is exclusive. I never would expect Street Fighter to be exclusive to just one console. It's kind of weird. Good win. I mean, Street Fighter PS4 exclusive. Good look for Sony, definitely. It's E3, you want to show off the new Street Fighter, you want to show that it's yours. Definitely can't argue with that. That is a smart move, especially with the whole Ryu hype right now. Good job. But when you're slowly going down the conference, you're starting to notice that they're staying consistent when showing gameplay. That's really important to know because I believe that was Microsoft's biggest problem. Other than that, I think they did pretty darn well. Sony is taking advantage of that and just showing gameplay back to back. For the most part, I mean, there were a few trailers, but like, it's E3, so you kinda expect it. And you got a whole bunch of indie games as with both conferences, and just a few, multi-platforms like Call of Duty, Disney Infinity for some reason, and just some weird choices like Assassin's Creed. Like, that right there, I think that's the moment where I was like, alright, this pacing's just not, like, it just wasn't that good. Destiny wasn't the best game. Assassin's Creed is definitely getting overplayed. Not the best thing to show for a Sony conference. And for that to come after, like, there was just this whole string of, like, just, why? It's just these odd choices. It's like, you don't expect Sony of all, like, consoles to do this. Like, you have Black Ops, like, that wasn't at Microsoft, but it's at Sony for some reason. Usually it's the other way around. Like, Sony usually has the advantage of not showing Call of Duty, or at least from what I remember. So it's kinda weird to see it the other way around. And then you have Destiny, which kinda... Oh man, they probably shouldn't have shown that. But they did somewhat redeem themselves with another announcement. We get a Final Fantasy VII remake, which is not too hype for me. I mean, it's just a remake and it's going to be on both systems. But the fact that they showed it off, that's pretty good. I mean, more people are going to look at it as a PlayStation game now. I guess this one's more special for Final Fantasy fans who grew up with this game. I hear they've been asking for it for years. I feel like Sony needed that. Like, at the pace they were going, it seemed like everything was just going downhill. So for that announcement to come out of nowhere, that really got people back up and was like, alright, so I can actually pay attention now. Yeah, let's keep going. So far, 2 huge revivals, and then out of nowhere, the revival of Shenmue 3. Shenmue freaking 3. That is awesome. That is... I have no words. That's a huge win for that to be exclusive. That's pretty awesome. It's actually a Kickstarter. I believe it's at its goal already. I wouldn't be surprised at all. Yeah, huge win for them. You can't really take anything away from that. I mean, so there you go. You have 3 huge revivals in this conference. And that's just E3 this year, because I feel like this year, 2015, was the year of just revivals. Not like the revivals I wanted, but definitely revivals. We got 3 from Sony, and when I talk about Nintendo, there will be other ones as well. So basically, the hype level for this conference was just insane. Everyone was talking about it on Twitter. People were saying Sony is the best. They killed everything because of these 3 strict announcements. And they did pretty good with that. I think that really helped them. That's going to make people remember that Sony probably won this year. Sony proved, right. They did good things. They showed promising games, fan-demanded games. This was easily the most hype out of all 3. Out of every single conference, Sony was the most hyped company, conference, whatever, of this E3, definitely. So they get that accolade, no problem. People are still talking about Sony, and that's pretty dang good, so good win for them. Then afterwards you get Batman, of course, going to be on other consoles. Then they start talking about TV as if it's innovative. I have no idea what they were trying to add on there. With Spotify, I guess since it's Sony, they're expected to do this kind of stuff, so. I don't know who cares about music on their console. As a guy who's really into music, I have so many more options for that. And remember when I mentioned Black Ops? Yeah, that comes right after that. It's like these two big droughts in this conference. It sucks, you know? It's like this conference it could be so much. But when you're only relying on games, which this conference is, minus the Spotify, whatever that was, you gotta make sure the games are good. If the console updates or enhancements or whatever services you're trying to improve aren't shown, which they clearly didn't show at all, you gotta make sure the games are really, like, appealing, consistent. Minus those 3 hype announcements, being unbiased as I possibly can with this situation. I gotta look at the benefits of each, like, side. PlayStation showed great games. They showed 3 in which I was pretty interested in. Microsoft, same thing. I was interested in about 3 or 4, like, that I was super interested in. The rest, yeah, I'll play if I get a chance, but I just feel Sony just didn't show as much as they could have shown. I think they relied on just those 3 hype machines to carry this entire thing. There was really nothing there. I didn't feel like this was a PlayStation 4 type thing. I felt like this was just showing off games. And yes, that's all that matters. The people are gonna be like, well, that's the whole point. But when I tune into a Sony press conference, I want to hear what they have to offer. What does the console do? What exclusive games can I get from this? What can I do to make this console different from the Xbox One? And for some people, that's enough to, win the entire thing. I respect that. But to me, I didn't get the feeling that Sony wanted me to have this console other than, this game looks pretty cool. It's like the console itself didn't make itself seem better. Did they sell me? Yeah, definitely. Like I said, 2 games in, I won a PS4. I thought Horizon was like the best thing ever. With the announcement of backwards compatibility, that's a huge selling point. People are going to want this console afterwards. I didn't feel like Sony did that. I honestly didn't. Had they announced backwards compatibility as well, and had like about 2 or 3 more exclusives, I believe they would have had a really good conference. I still think it's a good conference. I'd probably give it like a B or something, because it was pretty hype. Like, I thought, again, this was the most hyped conference of E3, like, easily. But man, I just wish they had a bit more, because I love the conference. Like, I enjoyed it for what it was. I enjoyed Xboxes for what it was. I just wanted a bit more with the console, like, feature-wise, and a bit more, like, exclusive games for the PlayStation. So yeah, and of course they ended it with an exclusive, and that is Uncharted 4. Good luck for Uncharted fans. Hopefully people are hyped for that. So on to the third company, the hipster company that doesn't really connect with the other 2 at all, and that is Nintendo. Nintendo decided to go all out this E3 and have like separate days with events. It's crazy. Sunday they had a Smash Brothers live stream, which was actually pretty hype. I mean, I enjoyed it for what it was, even though, content got leaked. That was pretty stupid, but it's whatever. We still got the characters. It was pretty hype that they did that. The World Championships, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't watch, so I can't critique at all, because I did not watch it. I was away from the stream, I could not do anything about that, and I never went back and rewatched it because it was too long and I didn't want to sit through it. But I do know what they announced. There was Blast Ball, a new 3DS game, and Earthbound Beginnings. Yeah, North America is finally getting Mother 1. What took them so long? People see this as a big win. I personally don't. Maybe because I don't know anything about Earthbound. I really don't. And I don't know if you're upset over that, but I just don't know. I'm very happy for those people that wanted it. I guess it's been demanded for years, since it is the first Mother game. So I have respect for Nintendo for doing that. It's stupid that it took this long to do it. If you look up any kind of, like, gameplay for it, it's like this really old game. So it's like, why isn't this already over here? It makes no sense. So yeah, I don't think that's like a huge win of E3 at all, to be honest. And yeah, I know the argument. If Sonic 1 and Sonic 3 wasn't released in America and you only had Sonic 2, how would you feel if they finally gave you Sonic 1 after all these years? Yeah, I'd be upset, I guess, but no, it's not that big of a win, to be honest. Now on to the actual direct/conference, whatever you want to call it. It's direct, I guess. Was it good? Absolutely not. I believe this is actually the worst conference in all of E3. I'm dead serious. I think it is the worst. I can't believe I'm saying that, but yeah, I think Nintendo did the worst out of even like the smaller ones, like EA. I think this was just bad. It was embarrassing. Oh my god. Oh my god. I guess I should explain why this is so bad. It opens up great. It opens up, you know, they love the skits. Nintendo has tons of charm that is undeniable. I respect them for that. But they showed off Star Fox. We expected that. The game looks freaking amazing. Like, there's no denying. I don't know who you are. You can't tell me that game doesn't look gorgeous. Like the game just looks, any space setting. You can't really mess up space to begin with, but there's these land sections that just look so good. And like, in HD Star Fox, that's a way to bring Star Fox back. For the people that wanted it, that's great. I'm definitely gonna try it out. I kinda have no choice but to, after all these years, I guess. Never really got into Star Fox like that, but this is going to be my first Star Fox game, so hype. That is beyond hype. That's pretty cool. There's that first revival, and then we get a Zelda 3DS game. And apparently that's a revival as well. I believe it's, Four Swords or something? I believe my friend had a game on GameCube called that or something. Not too sure. It looks very familiar, but it doesn't look terribly interesting. The cool part is it is online, so that's always a plus. Anytime Nintendo gets online, that's like, congratulations, you're catching up. It's good to know that. Like, not every game needs it, but you can sense which games need online, and that looked like it did, so that's good to see. And as an added bonus, we get Hyrule Warriors on 3DS. Not super major or anything, but still cool, you know. I've never played a Dynasty Warriors type game on a handheld. That's going to be really odd, but cool at the same time, so I honestly might get that, you know. I need more 3DS games. I think that'll be cool to have. I have Orochi Warriors for my Xbox One, and it'd be cool to have Hyrule Warriors on my 3DS. Oh my god, then I don't know. Alright, here's, if you're still confused as the problem with this Direct, you gotta on its own, is it bad? Yes, I'd say it's still bad on its own. Compared to the other two, it's one of the worst I've ever seen. Compared to the other two. Because the other two did so well. They did what they needed to do. Not perfect, but they did really freaking well. They're so freaking close. PlayStation and Xbox, I believe, are like just top tier of this E3. Like, they did pretty good. They did nearly everything they had to do. Nintendo, oh my god. When you go from Sony to watching Nintendo's, it's utter disappointment. I have no idea. Like, Star Fox Zero, that's the name of it. It was their biggest surprise. That was their biggest game. Star Fox Wii U was their biggest game. I wasn't expecting Pokemon. I wasn't expecting a new Mario. Here's what I was hoping from Nintendo. I was hoping for a new IP. Like, that's guaranteed. I was hoping for a revival of another series, maybe. Maybe F-Zero. I think Zelda needed to be there. We can't have Star Fox be the main thing. It made absolutely no sense. And I couldn't believe it. There was no real quality, like, I mean, there was that Paper Mario and Luigi game. That looks solid. That's gonna be a good 3DS game. No doubt. But then you have stuff like Blast Ball, which didn't look bad to begin with, but they turned that into a Metroid game. That there, I know tons, I could just feel it. The moment I saw Metroid, the title, like, go up, I was like, because I'm looking at the gameplay, I'm like, this is Blast Ball. It looks fun, that's all that should matter, but you don't do that. You don't do that. Like, I could not believe it. The moment I saw it, I felt like, this is not good. They're not doing this right now. I was like, they better reveal something like Metroid, like an actual game after this to back it up. No, didn't even do that. And then there was the Animal Crossing situation. You got the new amiibos. Those look great, by the way. And then it shows you using the amiibo. Then right after you see Animal Crossing Wii U. Oh my god, this is going to be the best thing ever. So many people are so hype. It turns out to be a Mario Party type game with no mini games. Who does this? Who does this? Like, I don't know anyone that saw this video and was like, people are going to get so hyped over this. People are going to lose their minds over this. And I understand that, you know, there's more to come, maybe next year, NX, all that. I don't care. This is E3. But before people attack me, what I'm trying to get here is, the main problem with this Direct is that the Wii U is not, it's nowhere near PlayStation, like sales-wise. It's not even by Xbox. It's seriously in its own lane, like with games and with sales. How do you say this is okay? The 3DS got more love. Nothing was shown. Literally nothing major was shown. Minus, you know, Star Fox, and I mentioned the Paper Mario game. That's going to be interesting. I know people are psyched for that. That looks pretty cool, you know. I've never really played Paper Mario. A lot of people are looking forward to it. I'm not even, like, done, you know. There's other stuff. There definitely is. Like, there's Mario Maker, which they focused on throughout this entire thing. They really want you to love this game. I personally don't see the hype in this game. I know a lot of people, after the World Championships, was looking forward to it. I saw some, like, mini, like, bits and pieces of that part of the event, I guess. And I know exactly what it is. It's a build your own Mario game. Something that probably should have been created years ago, but you know, whatever. That was the 30th anniversary. That was the thing you showed at E3. I honestly would have defended Mario Maker if it was strictly at the World Championships. We knew it was a game already, but they continued to show it. I don't understand. There was nothing that made you go, I need a Wii U in this. The console that is in last place, the console that is not selling the best, people are calling dead all across the internet. This Direct did not make anyone want a Wii U. And that's my main problem with it. That's why I think it's so bad. I think the point of a conference is to make you want the console if you don't have it already. And if you have it, make sure those people are satisfied. That's what I believe the conference should do. I wasn't satisfied at all, and I own a Wii U. I'm trying to be unbiased as I can. Because Nintendo, they're respectable. I like the skits they do. They have charm. I love the Smash streams. They're so full of charm, and they're so good. They've even handled DLC really well. I've been applauding them all year. All freaking year. Because they've handled Smash DLC so good. They've handled Mario Kart DLC really good. A lot of the games we do know about look good. They've always looked good. Xenoblade, that's already out in Japan. Why is that still being talked about? I don't understand. They've covered it in like so many directs. It even got its own direct. It's weird. Yoshi's Woolly World still looks good, but it's just another game I've seen before. And yes, Sony and Microsoft did the same thing. We saw Tomb Raider before. We saw Arkham Knight before. The thing with Nintendo is just like, I didn't really have a problem with Woolly World being in the direct. It's just that there was nothing to go with it. There was nothing worthwhile as far as like a new Wii U game. And they gave little to no reason to own a Wii U. I stand by that. This direct didn't do any of that. Okay, I should stress that nothing in this direct was bad. I don't think any of the games looked terrible at all. The main issue is, some of this I just felt should not have been at E3. That Animal Crossing board game, dude, that just made me want to buy a new Leaf on 3DS. But you know, games like Paper Jam, that look good. That's like a unique idea. Stuff like that, with like better games attached to it, would have made this Direct solid. That Metroid game, that should have been left behind at the World Championships. There's no depth to that. You should have just left that. The main thing this Direct proved, really, is that Nintendo doesn't really care about the Wii U. At least not this year. Like, there was barely anything new. I can't think of anything that really, other than Star Fox. Like, what's pushing this console? Like, why should I own this if I don't already? Yeah, I own it already, but like, for everyone else, I don't understand where they were coming from with this. It just feels like they lost all kinds of faith. Last year, I think they killed it. Again, I'm not trying to hate on Nintendo. I'm not hating this Direct on purpose to sound cool, no. Again, I'm being very honest. I thought this Direct was terrible. Like, throughout Twitter, I was just saying, Sony and Microsoft were so close with each other. That's how it should be. So I was like, there's no way Nintendo's going to do bad. So I thought it was going to be a close E3. But good God. Disappointment for a lot of people. I haven't seen a single Nintendo fan defending this. Not one. But yeah, they're still a good company. I mean, I'm not dissing them or anything, but that Direct was just the weakest thing you could have done. It's just overall disappointment. Nintendo did the worst, I believe, out of anyone, because there was no motive. I had no, other than like 2 games, there was nothing. There was nothing redeeming about this. There was nothing I could really take out about this. I've never seen a conference like that. I've never seen a conference so lackluster. They won last year was so much better because it made you want a Wii U. I think they won last year's E3. They got so destroyed this year. It's not even because the other consoles just did so much better. It's just that Nintendo just sucked. I've never seen such a bad conference. I can't believe they didn't show Zelda. That would have been at least something, you know. I still think they would have probably fell behind the other two, but Zelda would have helped it. They're still a great company, don't get me wrong. This is just one bad situation in their timeline. It's nothing to them. The amiibo are still awesome. Like, I'm going to buy the ones I want. I'm going to pick up Star Fox. I might pick up the Zelda game. I might pick up the Mario one, but everything else, no. Yeah. Man, I'm gonna get hate for that, aren't I? Oh well. Just my thoughts. I don't think you should really care. I mean, if you enjoyed E3, I think the whole point of E3 really, other than what I said earlier about making the consoles appealing, is just, you know, looking forward to the games you like. That's what it really boils down to. Nintendo didn't have many things I liked. There was only one I was really looking forward to, and that was Star Fox, and we got that. Microsoft, there were a few I was looking forward to the most. Same with Sony, I think they're about equal with that. With the big three, as far as who won E3, it's so hard to say, cause Sony had the most hype one, but Xbox had like the most info. Like, it was like it felt like what a conference really should be. Like, the titles people want, like Xbox fans want, like they like that stuff. And it had like the big announcements, like the VR, like that cool virtual reality setup thing, that blew everyone away. The backwards compatibility, that's going to be a huge winning factor for like non-gamers. People outside the internet, they're going to be like, oh, I can play my 360 games on this, you know. So I don't know, I mean, it's whatever, man. They're so dead, like, even for me. I might have to give it to Microsoft, though. I mean, like, purely for the fact that PlayStation, I felt, was strictly just... It had their exclusives, but it was just like, these games are also going to be on Xbox. It's like, there weren't many solid exclusives. I feel like Xbox was just the most consistent throughout. And I can't just rob them for not showing gameplay. That just wouldn't make sense. So I put Xbox at number 1, PlayStation at number 2, and of course Nintendo at number 3. What do you guys think of E3? I thought it was pretty awesome. I think this was the best E3 I've ever seen. It was that good. Like, I'm not even exaggerating. What were you most hyped about, and why? I don't think my opinion is that popular. More people are definitely saying Sony won, which is, you know, it's fine. I think they're pretty darn close. It's just, I feel like Microsoft came out on top barely. Like, I think this was their year. They did what they had to do. Between the collection, the announcements, like, it was just solid overall. No real inconsistencies with me, at least. I mean, that's the impression I got throughout the entire thing. But that's just what I think. I'm Steven Nux, and I will definitely talk to you guys later.